Hello everyone, I'm Dante.
And I'm Kurs.
From Low Manor. In this episode of Skin Deep, we're taking a break from the usual skins and doing a recap of some of the skins from the recently ended Winter Wonderland event. We'll be looking into the lore behind Zenyatta's Nutcracker, Winston's Yeti, and McCree's McScrooge. And before you ask, we won't be covering the Santa and Elf skins as they are more flavour than they are meaningful. Unfortunately, we can't give you the names of all the folks that designed these wonderful skins this time as all of Blizzard are on holiday, but when we have them, we'll be sure to update the description.
Last time out, we brought you Odette and Odile, based on the Swan Lake Ballet by Tchaikovsky. So what better way to begin than by continuing in that vein with Zenyatta's Nutcracker skin? Again, these tie in more than just cosmetically. The story itself also has some relevance to the individual Zenyatta has become. The Overwatch artists do seem to have a penchant for Tchaikovsky though, don't they? Given he also composed the Nutcracker Ballet. Though it must be noted this skin could also be based on the original book, The Nutcracker and the Mouse King, by E.T.A. Hoffman. Realistically, we have no way of knowing which it is, but for the purposes of this analysis, we'll be using the ballet. For anyone that hasn't seen or read any of the many versions of it, the story of the Nutcracker in brief is that of a group of friends and family members gathered for a pre-Christmas get-together. As presents are being handed to the children attending, an owl-topped grandfather clock in the room strikes 8, and with it a well-known local councilman, toymaker, and magician enters the room, Drosselmeyer. He also happens to be the grandfather of one of the children, named Clara, and he presents the children 4 dancing toys, before putting them away for safekeeping. As he returns the toys, Drosselmeyer presents a 5th toy, a nutcracker in the shape of a soldier, but only Clara takes an interest. The other children dismiss it, and her brother Fitz accidentally breaks it. After everyone has retired for the evening, Clara sneaks back to the tree to see the dancing toys once again, especially the nutcracker.
This is when things start to get a little interesting. As Clara reaches the nutcracker, the owl clock strikes midnight. Drosselmeyer appears atop it. As he does, the room begins to fill with mice and the Christmas tree grows to incredible heights. Before Clara can take this in, a battle erupts around her between the mice and gingerbread soldiers. The soldiers are accompanied by other toys who carry away the wounded gingerbread men. Led by the Nutcracker, the gingerbread men seem to be losing to the mouse forces under the command of the Mouse King. The Nutcracker, although wounded, faces up to the Mouse King. In an attempt to save him, Clara throws her slipper at the Mouse King, distracting him long enough for the Nutcracker to stab him. The battle appears to be over. The mice return to whence they came. The Nutcracker, however, transforms into a prince. In his true form, the prince takes Clara back to his kingdom, the realm of sweets, currently overseen by the Sugar Plum Fairy, who awaits his return. In honour of Clara and saving the Nutcracker, a celebration of sweets is held, with confectionery spanning the world over. The evening ends with all the sweets dancing with Clara beside her newly found prince. This, if we were to speculate a little, could hold a nugget of possibility for Zenyatta's future. Although he has long accepted what he has become and began to share his message, perhaps he has not yet reached his ultimate purpose. As the prince returns to his kingdom, it's possible Zen will also return to his home, the Shambali. With Mondatta gone, we've had no hint at anyone else stepping forward to lead them, and Zenyatta would appear to fit the old adage that some great leaders have leadership thrust upon them. We know he desires to forge his own path, but with the crisis escalating across the globe, is there a better candidate to lead the Shambali than the one who has spent the most time out amongst humanity? As for the rest of the story, it seems likely that the other soldiers led by the Nutcracker are analogous to Zenyatta's fellow Omnics. But here the story drifts. As far as we know, Zenyatta had no military role at this point. Indeed, he is too young to have any role in the Omnic crisis in any way. But perhaps there is a part of him, and indeed the rest of the Shambali, that holds a level of responsibility for what happened, with the true cause and motivation of the crisis still shrouded in mystery. Could the monks know something the rest of the world does not? And if so, is there a good reason that they would keep such a thing secret?
For our next item, we'll need to examine the legend of the Yeti, otherwise known as the abominable snowman due to a mistranslation, which in Overwatch is the skin adopted by Winston. The origins of this beast trace back to the Himalayan mountains of Nepal, Bhutan and Tibet, although its exact location has never been confirmed. Such is the way of myths and legends. There are many stories claiming to be the true origin, but it's likely a mix of them all, with no concrete evidence of its existence able to confirm any as fact, but we'll touch on this later on. The story behind the name is possibly the most interesting in modern terms, and that's the tale of the abominable snowman, a name coined back in 1921 by the leader of a British expedition led by Lieutenant Colonel Charles Howard Bury. He and his team discovered unusual footprints in the snow that at first appeared to be that of a large standing creature. Mountain guides known as Sherpas gave the suggestion that they were the wild man of snows, who they called Meto Kangmi, which translates to man-bear snowman, The name Abominable Snowman is the result of a mistranslation or misunderstanding of this phrase into Filthy Snowman, the final title following on from there through artistic license.
On the surface, this doesn't sound like it has much in common with Winston, a well-known, highly intelligent gorilla from space, and in many ways you'd be right with this assertion. Isolation, it seems, to us would be the defining trait, along with the very lonely nature of Winston's existence. We've seen May sketch Winston as Sun Wukong, recently on the Antarctica map, which fits much more with his scientist nature and maybe a skin we'll see in the future. But a key driving force that we see behind him in Recall, in Are You With Us, and even recently in Reflections, is one of crushing loneliness. On his own personal deserted rock, not a snow-covered mountain range, but an abandoned station on the Rock of Gibraltar. Winston has been by himself for far too long, with only Athena for company. This is a big part of what leads to him reaching out to his former friends, alongside for his desire to make the world a better place. Perhaps the most subtle possibility is the connection the Yeti makes between Winston and Nepal though. The monastery home of the Shambali nestles in the snow-covered mountains, and with the desire to see Overwatch restored as a force for good, and the Shambali's desire for peace between humans and Omnics, it seems possible that the two would make well-suited allies.
Away from both ballet and the legends of Nepal, we come to the last skin we'll be investigating today, McCree's Scrooge skin, originating in A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. Now one of the most popular and famous books on Christmas in the Western world, Scrooge is the focal character of the story, and at its heart the tale is one of redemption. Already this chimes with the life of Jesse McCree, who underwent his own personal path to redemption when he abandoned his criminal life and joined Overwatch. Though as ever with these skins, there's a lot more to it than that. Unlike McCree, Scrooge is, at the point we find him in the novel, already a relatively old man, and one who has walked a path of greed and avarice at the cost of his fellow man for the majority of his adult life. Like McCree though, as far as we know anyway, and it must be stressed we don't know much about his time in the Deadlock Gang, Scrooge had no plans on ever redeeming himself, until threat of severe consequences were placed before him. For Scrooge this came in the form of his old business partner, Jacob Marley, visiting him, and prophesying an eternity bound in the chains of his own greed. For McCree, the ultimatum was far more straightforward: betray Deadlock and join Overwatch, or face a life in jail. What's interesting is who it seems likely to have been the man to make him this offer: Gabriel Reyes, leader of Blackwatch. Marley was a mentor to Scrooge, and returned to warn him of the dangers of his path, out of a sense of regret and lingering friendship. Reyes became a mentor to McCree, though his ultimatum was offered through what we believe to be a long-term goal to expand his own power and influence. In this, the stories are similar, and yet with wildly different motivations.
Scrooge transforms in the space of a single night following Marley's visit via the appearance of three spirits, the ghosts of Christmas past, present and future. Each shows him aspects of his life in a way designed to bring to his attention his own failings and the impact that has on others, and eventually the impact it will have on himself. Again, McCree did not have this, but what he did have was Overwatch at the height of its golden age, and a drive to make amends for his past. A drive that came from himself, not from a ghostly haunting. Even with these more benevolent motives, McCree, it seems, fared worse than Scrooge in the long run. While Scrooge was laughed at by some, the majority embraced his new personality and altruistic nature. McCree, after the fall of Overwatch, of which he wished no part of, finds himself branded a criminal, despite his continued desire to help those in need. Perhaps he too one day will find the ultimate peace that Scrooge found. But consider who the three ghosts of Overwatch universe are, the ones that everyone believes to be dead. Will McCree have a part to play when the struggle between Morrison, Reyes and Amari reaches its conclusion?
Thanks for watching this Winter Wonderland edition of Skin Deep. What did you think of the event as a whole? Did you enjoy the skins they added? And what skins would you like to see added in future events? Let us know in the comments section below. We'll be back to our promised video on Mercy's Sigrun and Valkyrie skins next time. If you enjoyed this episode, please hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and hit the bell if you want notifications of future video releases. Until next time, I've been Kurz.
And I've been Dantier.
Thanks for watching.